I'm Dr. Dani Rabwin with ReadyVetGo, the podcast, and I'm so excited with our guest tonight. We have Dr. Allie Williams with us, and I'm super excited to have her. Thank you guys for being here. Dr. Allie, thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for asking me.
So you and I just met virtually, but I feel like I know you because we're connected on social media, which is just such a funny world because you are very open and vulnerable, and I just love your content. And I feel like I know you, but I don't actually know you. And so I'm just so excited to finally actually be able to talk to you.
Me too. That's the fun and the beauty of social media is like you have all this like online community and then you get to like slowly meet them.
Yeah. And I really want to ask you about that journey. But before we get there, I want to hear about just a little about you and how you ended up in vet med. You and I are connected because I do so much work with vet students and new grads, and you are an early career vet out there on social media talking about your journey, which I just love, but I don't really know how you got here. So can you just tell me a little bit about like what inspired you to go into veterinary medicine and where you went to school and just, little summary up until now?
Yeah. So I'm Allie, as we've already said. And I guess I always wanted to be a veterinarian. I was always obsessed with dogs. One of my earliest memory is having this dog encyclopedia book, and I would just flip through it in my spare time. I was very much dog obsessed. I was not much of a cat person. I've slowly become more of a cat person as I've been working with them. And whenever, I started showing livestock. So I had some goats and some pigs and some cattle. And then I got connected with another veterinarian. His name was Dr. Tripp. He was amazing, and he kind of took me under his wing. And so I shadowed with him, and then I started college. A little bit of my background is I lived at a children's home for a little bit. And so I was unsure of if I truly wanted to be a veterinarian. And so I actually started my academic journey as a clinical health I wanted to be a clinical health psychologist. So I started as a psychology major. And then whenever my husband and we got married, whenever we were pretty young, and then we transferred up to Oklahoma State University. And that's whenever I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be pre-vet. So I started pre-vet, and then it was hard. Like at Southeastern Oklahoma State University, where I started my academic journey, I was a 4.0 student. I didn't really have to try. And so going from this not rigorous program to a very rigorous program, I struggled a little bit with the academics. And so I actually didn't end up applying straight directly to veterinary school. I actually took time off. I took about a year off. And then I decided,
This was after you graduated undergrad, you took a year off?
Yes. Yep. So I graduated undergrad in 2019. And then my husband and we decided to go travel the world. And so we were supposed to be gone all of 2020. And
no.
Yeah. So the one time that we decided to do something just for us, COVID happened. And so we came back, and I was like, I don't want to be a vet anymore at this time. And I was like, I want to have a baby. And so my husband and we started trying to have a baby. It didn't happen. And then I was like, what do I want to do with my life? And I was going through like, do I want to just be a stay-at-home mom, or do I want to be a veterinarian? And I thought, you know what? If I had a daughter, I would want her to go after her dream. And so I applied to Ross, and I got in, and I did the pre-vet program, like the vet prep program, because like I said, I struggled academically. And then I started the DVM program in January of 2021, and I found out I was having my daughter February 2021.
So she was born on the island?
No. So I did 2 semesters at Ross, and then I took the fall semester off. And then I applied to transfer to Oklahoma State University, and I was accepted. And then I graduated from there.
Oh, what a really cool story.
It's wild.
Yeah, it is. It's wild. There were like so many twists and turns, and I want to go back to some of those things because, it sounds like you had this experience with somebody who played kind of a mentor role for you, you mentioned, when you were doing livestock, and that, like, between your like dog obsession, which I love the visual with the encyclopedia. I think there's a lot of vets and pre-vet students who can relate to that. So there was like the dog obsession and then the livestock experience that you had. And then you mentioned that veterinarian. Can you just talk a little bit more about how that vet influenced you, or like what role that person played for you?
Yeah, so that was like my true first experience in a veterinary clinic. He was a mixed animal practitioner in rural Oklahoma, and he would just have me come out with him. And he actually, because like mentioned, I lived at a girls' home for a little bit, and he actually had me come out whenever it was during Christmas break, and I stayed with him and his family, and he
Mm,
just would take me into the clinic, take me out on the farm calls, and he just would show me the ropes. And so that was the first time I watched a surgery. That was the first time I restrained an animal.
yeah.
It was just, it opened a whole world for me.
It sounds like that was like an extra special, important relationship because of your experience living in a girl's home, where presumably you didn't have a similar type of family support. I don't know anything about this part of your experience at all, but I would imagine that being in the girl's home meant that perhaps you didn't have the type of family support that maybe some of your other peers did, and that this person played an especially important role for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just love that. Are you still in touch with that vet?
I am.
And he knows like how he's, inspired you and seen you through this journey and you becoming a veterinarian yourself.
Yes. I invited him to my graduation. He unfortunately couldn't make it, but he did live stream it. Um,
Oh,
and we still talk.
I just love that so much. So so you got married, your dreams of traveling the world were derailed by COVID. And then you mentioned that because your academics weren't where they needed to be for vet school, you did the pre-vet program at Ross, which I literally know nothing about. Can you talk about that? Because I'm sure there are so many pre-vet students who have a similar experience. Maybe they didn't know they wanted to go to veterinary school, or for whatever reason, the grades or the academics aren't quite there. So what is this? I didn't even know this was an option.
Yeah, so I attempted to like apply directly into the DVM program. And I joked with my husband. I said, if I don't get in, if I get put in the vet prep program, we're going to buy a van, we're going to convert the van, and we're just going to go travel. And then they offered this position to me. And I was like, maybe I should be a little bit more practical and go after my dream. And so what the vet prep, it's actually vet prep program, my bad. So what it is it you have a semester, you're with your peers, and you just have to make sure that you pass the courses. And I did well. Like it was stuff that I wanted to learn. And as long as you
Where
pass,
is it?
it's at
It's
Ross
at
University.
Ross.
hmm
Okay.
Yep. So since I was still like COVID era, I did the first semester at home. But now you have to go to the island and you take the classes there. And then
And this is a vet prep program. Like, can you do the vet prep program at Ross and then go apply to any vet school? Or does it mean you go
uh,
right into Ross?
you go into Ross.
Okay, got
Yeah,
it. So
exactly.
they're just making sure that you're prepared to start that academic journey in
Yeah,
vet school at Ross.
exactly.
Okay. Um, Most people, I would say, probably don't have vet school with a little baby, and I have seen this adorable little daughter of yours on social media. So she was probably just like a tiny little one when you were going back to Oklahoma. What was the experience like being a new mom and a vet student?
It was wild. That's what I'm so grateful for, that I had that semester off to have Avalon, because I cannot imagine having a baby and taking classes, which I know people do. I had classmates that did it, and I was like, you women are superheroes. But it was definitely difficult because Av was 2 months old whenever I started back at Oklahoma State University, and having a baby that is still waking up in the night. I was also actively breastfeeding. So I had to do that. And then I would pump. And it was definitely a struggle. And thankfully,
Yeah.
she started sleeping pretty early on. Like I remember her starting to sleep through the night, like spring breakish. My husband disagrees with me. But Also, I think the biggest thing is just having that supportive partner. My husband, that first semester, he stayed home. So he was able to really take care of her while I was in
Yeah.
class. So he truly supported
Oh,
me through this
that's
journey.
incredible. And how was the support from faculty and professors? Were they understanding, supportive?
Oh, they
You
were
know,
super amazing. Actually, there's a picture that circulated around because I took Evelyn to class with me. Ah, gosh, how old was she? She was probably like 6 months old. No, yeah, or was it? I don't remember. She was really little, and one of her professors, she is holding Av, and she's teaching the class.
oh, what an amazing experience. And then she's going to get to look back on that photo one day. Oh, that's just so cute. You're going to have to send it to me because now I want to see it.
I
I
have to
just love that
find
so
it.
much. And how wonderful. I mean, people are used to like vet students bringing their dogs to class and then to have a baby there. Like, who doesn't love having a baby around? That's just so sweet. But I imagine that it was, challenging being like a little sleep deprived and also having to be a vet student. Did you know what your career goals were after vet school when you were a veterinary student?
Yeah, so initially, whenever or all throughout my veterinary school journey, I wanted to be a mixed animal practitioner until my fourth year. And then I was like, maybe I want to do a residency because I started getting interested in veterinary sports medicine. I thought that was really
Mm,
cool. And then I sat down and I was like, I should focus on my family right now. And
mm.
so I'm currently a small animal practitioner, and I love it. I have like a really nice work life balance. And as a young mom, I really appreciate it.
So you just graduated in 2025?
Yes.
And so you mentioned you have a good work-life balance, which is, everybody says they want that. Not everybody gets it. How did you make that happen? What were you looking for in that first job?
Dude, I don't even know because I would joke with my friends. I'd be like, I would love a 4-day work week, but if I get a 3-day work week, that would be even better. And my friends were like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
somehow I got this job just handed to me, and I currently work 3 days a week.
What? How did that happen?
I don't know. I have no idea. And the thing is like I was originally looking for a job in Oklahoma because I wanted to stay closer to home. And then I somehow got connected to this clinic out here. And
Where are you?
I'm out in Grand Junction, Colorado.
Okay. And your husband has flexibility. I mean, it sounds like, he's been on this journey with you, going to these different places and taking time off to be home with the baby during the first semester in Oklahoma and then now the move. Um, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, he's amazing. But actually, so like I said, he took off that first semester and he
Yeah.
actually ended up applying to law school. So he went through law school while I was going through vet school.
Oh my gosh.
we both graduated this summer or this fall, the spring.
I mean, I guess that's kind of nice. You're both really just like in it and understand what the other person is going through, clearly with different professional degrees, but both just so invested in being students. I imagine that there's some camaraderie or bonding around that.
Yes, exactly. It's like we were both studying and then balancing this baby, and then also just like the excitement of all these transitions. Like we've transitioned together from students to
Yeah.
professionals, and it's been a really
Yeah.
cool journey. And we both have
Oh, I
like
love
our boards. Like I had my NAVLE earlier in the year, and then he pretty much spent his entire summer studying for his bar, which worked out
right.
really well because then we both got like the individual time that we needed to sit down and study.
Yeah. Oh, I just love this so much. So what other jobs were you looking at for this first job? It sounds like you landed on one that's really good. And this is it just makes me so happy to hear, so much of that work that I do with new grads is kind of coaching them through difficult first year experiences. We've got a really high turnover rate. They say anywhere between like 30 and 44% of new veterinarians leave their first job within the first year, which is really high because they often say that they don't get the mentorship that they were promised or the mentorship that they were looking for. And it's really hard, I think, on new grads to not have that first job be what you were hoping it would be. It sounds like at this stage in the game, your first job is turning out to be really good. So I'm wondering, like, what were you looking for? What kind of questions were you asking potential employers? You mentioned this job just kind of came to you. How did you come to find this wonderful first job?
So I guess the way I found it is I actually did an externship that was associated or through the school. They sent me to a clinic, and I am at a corporate clinic. But they're like, I went to it and I did not like this practice at all, but I try to keep an open mind. And so I was like, sure, I'll talk to the rep, see what he has. And he was like, well, like if you could move anywhere, where would you want to move to? And I was like, oh, well, like my husband and I, we've always talked about moving to Colorado, but we definitely don't want to be in Denver. Denver is too busy for us. And he's like, well, there's this clinic out in Grand Junction, Colorado, and I think you'd be a really good fit. And so I did a 2-week externship there. And the things that I was paying attention to is I paid attention to how everyone interacted with each other. And the first thing that I noticed was everyone was willing to help. And I think that's so
Mm,
important because our profession is such a collaborative profession. And so
mm-hmm.
everybody wanting to help really spoke to me. Also, most of the technicians had been there for like 5 years. And I mean, of course, there are like the newer ones, like that had only been there for a year, but that speaks volumes to me. And then also the doctors. I'm the 5th doctor. So there's 4 other doctors in this practice, which is very valuable as a new grad because I didn't want to be by myself. And I've worked a few shifts by myself, but there's always someone to bounce ideas off of. And so those were the things that I was really looking for. Also, the one thing that my practice manager told me is he told me he wasn't judging me based off my knowledge. He was judging me based on who I was as an individual.
Mm.
And that spoke to me. I was like, yes, that's where I want to be. I don't want to be where they're just wanting me to make $1 million a year. Like I want to work with people that I enjoy working because I've had a job where I hated that job and I did not want to show up. And as a new veterinarian, that's so important.
There are so many amazing lessons to be learned from that story that you share. I love what you describe as this collaborative environment because vet med really is so collaborative. I love that that's the word that you used and that you noticed that during this externship. Did you mean that clinic wide? Is there collaboration between the support staff, technicians, and doctors? Everybody's working together?
Yeah. So how our clinic works is that each doctor has 3 technicians. They have a well PCC and then a sick PCC and then a lead tech. And of course, like if another doctor needs help, they're willing to go over there and help them like shoot radiographs or pull blood. And that is super important. I didn't want a clinic that had a ton of drama because veterinary medicine,
Mhm.
unfortunately, has a decent amount of drama.
It's so true. And I think there's a good lesson here too for what you shared, what the practice manager said to you about wanting to bring you on because of who you are as a person and not so much just, from the medical knowledge or the productivity or production numbers that you're going to bring in is sort of what it sounded like you were saying.
Yes, absolutely. Because also it's like as a new grad, there's so many positions out there. And I was offered multiple jobs, but I was like, you don't even know me. You've never even met me. You just want me because of my degree. And of course it's valuable too.
But you wanted to go someplace that was really going to value you as a person.
Absolutely. Because that's what matters at the end of the day. And that makes you have a long career.
And so they shared that with you during the interview process, and it sounds like they have held true to that.
Oh, absolutely. I see myself staying at this clinic for the next few years. And I already have friends and classmates that have already left their first job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Can
just
you give
to me.
can you give an example of something that they do that the practice leadership does for you to make you feel that way? Because like you said, you've got friends and classmates who are already leaving their first jobs and clearly aren't getting that. Is there like a moment or a story or a thing that happened that has stood out to you that has made you feel bonded to that practice that you just said, I'm going to stay here for a few years?
Yeah. So actually, I literally had an incident last week. I was doing a dental on a carnasal, and I broke the root, and I managed to shove it up in like the sinus. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, how am I going to get this out? And so I called my mentor. She was on vacation, and then I called two other doctors, and one of the doctors came into the clinic and helped me get that root out. And he literally just had surgery too. He had ankle surgery and he had a wrist surgery. So he's over there
Yeah.
doing it crippled. But the fact that he was willing to come in and help me through this speaks
Yes.
volumes.
So there's really this kind of culture of mentorship. So it sounds like you've got a point mentor
Mm-hmm.
who was gone, but then you also felt comfortable picking up the phone and calling some of your colleagues.
Yes, absolutely. And the only reason I didn't ask the one that was in the clinic with me is because she was slammed with urgent cares because this was right before Thanksgiving. We were
Oh no.
so busy.
Okay, is everything okay? Because I've definitely had that happen to me. And I frequently put my guests on the hot seat and ask them to share something that went wrong or a mistake or something that they were frustrated with. I think cracking the root of a carnasial and having that root go up is something that we can all relate to. And I think to have that experience as a new grad and to get through it and still be loving your practice and loving your job, I think is so important. So how did it turn out?
We got it out.
Good.
We drilled a lot more bone, and then we actually ended up getting suction, and we like the pull section, and we instead of using the pull tip, we actually used a 1 cc syringe, and then we put a teat cannula, and we were able to like suck up. Like I told you, I'll have to send you this radiograph because I was like, oh my gosh, this is awful. But I
Yeah.
quit, and I did it. I
Of
did want to quit, and I
course
did
you did.
say I was like, oh my gosh, this client, and she was already like, let me back up. So the first time I met this client, um, she knew that the dog's tooth was broken, but he had an incisor that was also like worn down and you could see the pulp chamber. And so I was like, hey, like while we're in the dental, like we can remove his incisor too. And she was like, no, like it's not bothering him at all. And I was like, well, like it is like it's like a deadening pain and it's painful. And then I accidentally made this woman cry because I was like, oh, what are your Thanksgiving plans? And she had lost her mom a few weeks ago.
Oh,
And so we really connected over that. And then that built a
yeah.
trust. Uh,
Yes.
but yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to tell her that I broke this dog's root. And I did tell her
Yeah.
whenever I
Yeah.
was like discharging him, I was like, hey, I did break a root. We did have to
Yeah.
dig out a little bit more bone, but we were able to find it. But she was great.
Yeah, she was probably great because you had already like built this trust with her and you were honest. I think so often our inclination is to not share the thing that maybe happened because it's uncomfortable. But you did. And I think, that just says so much. Were you nervous before you shared that with her, or did it just sort of come naturally to you to fill her in on what happened?
I was really nervous because I was like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, we already had that like that first bad interaction, but
Yeah.
she was fantastic. She was like, "Oh, I appreciate you telling me. I'm glad you got it out." And he's doing great.
Yeah. There's so much that I love about this story. And it just, I don't know, Allie, like when I meet new grads who are having these kinds of experiences, like these are just going to shape you for your career. And I'm just so glad to hear that you're having really good support and that you're feeling comfortable having awkward and uncomfortable conversations with your clients. Because this is so much of what veterinary medicine is. It's these conversations, it's these trust building exercises that we're doing with our clients and connecting with them. And, so much of what I hear from vet students and new grads is this concern about board complaints and negative reviews and things like that if they mess up or a mistake happens or something doesn't go the way they want it to. And I always come back to it is about the communication. And what you're describing here is just such, really kind and empathetic communication. And, our clients don't have to share with us when a family member passes away. And when they do, it's a gift, I feel like. It's a gift that allows us to connect with them as humans, not just the person coming in with the pet. So I love this story so much. The other thing I love about this story is that as veterinarians, we are problem solvers. And this whole teat cannula 1 cc syringe suction situation has my mind literally blown. Like, did the vet who came in to help you, had they done that technique before? Or were you guys like figuring it out?
We figured it out. So we got the suction, and I was like, what if we use like a 1 cc syringe? And he was like, no. And then he was like, let's put a teat cannula, but then you couldn't get like a tight seal on it. So he's like, let's get the 1 cc syringe. And
You're like, yeah, the one I just mentioned.
yeah, yeah, but it's okay. He got the root, and that was what really mattered. That was the true goal.
It's just incredible. I feel like, we are problem solvers. This is our gift as vets. We cannot possibly have seen every situation before it happens. And I imagine the next time a complication like this happens to you, because it will, while it might be nice to be able to call in a mentor or a colleague, you also might feel like, you know what, it's okay. I saw an experienced veterinarian who had to just wing it with a 1cc syringe and a teat cannula. And now I know, like, I can figure that out too, because I have the skills and the tools, and I too can solve this problem.
Yeah. Well, and also whenever he came in to help me, he was like, "So one of your problems was that you needed to shave a little bit more of the bone." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So, I also learned that from that interaction.
That is one of the best takeaways that you can learn. And also in surgery, I feel like whenever I would call my mentor in to help me if I was having a problem, he would just look at me like, why is your incision so small? Just open up the incision. I mean, that is just a good rule of thumb. When you're stuck in surgery or stuck in dental, clear away more bone, open up your incision. We cannot see through these things. We have to give ourselves the gift of being able to see what it is we're trying to achieve. And so it sounds like you were able to take away some really important lessons from this experience as well.
Yes.
I love all these stories so much. Can we talk about social media? Because that's how we met.
Yes, absolutely.
How how did this happen for you? I love what you're putting out there. I just think it's so fun and it's so relatable. And I love the things that you do with your daughter and like teaching her about science and just talking about your experience as a new grad. I didn't TikTok is new for me, so I don't know if you were doing this before you graduated. Was this something you did in vet school, or is this new? And how did you start doing this?
No, so this is completely new. So I actually, my first video that I made this year was a video of my daughter and me. So I put my daughter and I had her like in my regalia, my little hood. I'll send this one to you because it's super cute.
Please.
So she had my hood on and she had my graduation cap on. And I was like, "So what do you want to be whenever you grow up?" And she says, "I want to be a doctor." And I go, "For what?" And she goes, "For lions and kitties." And then I, it's the cutest thing. It's one of my favorite things that she says right now. And then we start with that, and then it's me, like they're like Dr. Allie Williams, and then I just interlay this video, and I got like 120 likes. And at that time, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is crazy! I'm going viral." And I thought you guys have done better than that. And then I was like, you know what? Why don't I just try it? Like, who cares? I'm just throwing things out to the world. Like I always talk about seeking discomfort and pushing, like going out of your comfort zone. And talking to the camera was super hard for me. That first video that I posted that I was talking to the camera, I was like, my heart was palpitating, my hands were shaking, and I kept on checking to see the response. But the reality is that it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
it's almost like exposure therapy. And then I kept on posting some videos. I hadn't really started working yet. And then I had the video of me from my first day. And that one took off. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this a veterinary, or not Instagram, a veterinary TikTok. And I have just kept it up and I enjoy it. It's a creative outlet for me. I've already started creating these connections and I've started getting these opportunities, and it's really exciting. And also one of my aspirations is to inspire people. I want to inspire people to keep on going. I want to inspire the women out there that don't think that they can have their dreams and have a family. And the fact is that we can do whatever we want. And I think having this role model out there is inspiring to the pre-vets and to hopefully the other women out there.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's partly what drew me to you is this sort of like just authenticity and just being really open about this experience and showing this life, that there is family and you're a mom and you're navigating new grad life. And I can really see how that would resonate with the public. And I also love what you had to say about kind of leaning into discomfort. And it's interesting that TikTok was part of that. Has that leaning into discomfort, has that been something that you have like thought about throughout your life, and this TikTok journey was just kind of another manifestation of that?
Yeah, so I think this goes back to like 2018 whenever I was like trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I found Kara and Nate, they're travel influencers. And I was like, you know what? I want to go travel. And Austin and I, we did some scary things. Like I always said I would never go skydiving. I went skydiving that year. I went scuba diving. And you would think that scuba diving is not that scary, but whenever you're like breathing on this like above the water and you're submerging, like I would freak out and I had to have the person like lift me up and I would have to like just calm myself. And I think we just grow so much as humans whenever we push our boundaries.
I think that's such an important message. And, so you've pushed boundaries in these like physical ways, and then also in this way that's like putting yourself and your story out for the public. But then what you're getting back is, it sounds like what's reflected back to you is really positive from these people that you're inspiring.
Yeah, exactly. And also it's like whenever I found out I was pregnant, like that was one of the scariest things. I mean, like I always wanted a baby, but finding out I was pregnant and about to like really get into my veterinary school journey, that was scary.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
very uncomfortable. And I had to constantly keep on pushing against that and just
Yeah.
going with the flow and trying my best.
I think that's a theme for so many veterinarians is, kind of leaning into this discomfort. Vet school by itself is hard. The things that we have to do to get into vet school, and then NAVLE and starting the first job. And, people have just so many backgrounds and experiences that we don't really know about that influence and shape us through these journeys. And I think, people are hungry for this kind of connection with other people. And it's really interesting to me how we can connect virtually and really inspire people in this way. Like I have been a vet for over 20 years, and I'm still in clinical practice, but I'm certainly scaling back as I grow my mentorship program, and the work that I do with new grads is remote. And it is shocking to me sometimes, like how deep these connections can be that we can have virtually, and then starting this like funny social media TikTok thing that I've done where I've been able to connect with even more people like we wouldn't have met. And I'm such a people person. Like I went into veterinary medicine, not so much for the animals, but because I really love people. And I
Mhm.
was so worried, when I'm letting go of working with all of these clients, how am I going to get that need met? And it's like just expanded in so many ways that I didn't quite expect. So I'm pretty grateful for it.
Yeah, I love your videos. I have learned a lot. I literally was watching your liver one where you were talking about the ALT and the ALP, and I was like, "Oh, it's such a common thing." And I was like,
Yeah, so common.
"It's so common," and I loved it.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, and I'm glad that kind of brought us together, and I hope we can stay connected because I've really enjoyed following your journey. So I know you're, just halfway through your first year in veterinary medicine. Have you changed any of your goals? Do you have new goals now that you're in practice and you're seeing and doing things for the first time? What's in store for you over the next few years, do you think?
So one of my biggest goals is I definitely want to expand on my surgical skills. I really, really enjoy surgery. I've done
Mm.
two splenectomies now.
Yay!
I've done a gastrotomy, and I did my first C-section this week, which was crazy. I really enjoy surgery, and
I
I
love
love,
that.
yeah, I love the medicine aspect too. I think it's just each case brings something new and teaches you something different. And I really am looking forward to building my client relationships too, because I am also very much a people person. And I was never the person that was like, I want to be a veterinarian because I love animals. I want to be a veterinarian because I want to help people and I want to help their animals as well.
Well, it's no wonder then that I feel connected with you. I just think that is so amazing. And I love hearing these stories about surgery. I think there's a lot of fear among early career vets about taking the plunge to doing something like a splenectomy or a C-section, and just how rewarding and fun to be able to do that. And then to say, like, I really do like surgery, and to lean into it. And personally, I feel like if you can do a spay, you could do a splenectomy, but it's a hard thing to kind of wrap your head around. These are some big wins. You know, whenever I work with vet students and new grads, I love to celebrate wins, things that we have accomplished, and splenectomies and C-sections are big wins. But as we wrap up, I'm wondering, since you are really seeming to thrive in your first year, that there's a lot of really small wins, small things that are going to get you through the long haul of this profession, that you maybe are incorporating, things like taking care of yourself or connecting with clients or connecting with your team. And I wonder, just as we wrap up, for the vet students and early career vets out there who can be inspired by you, like, what are some of the small wins or small things that you do that you think are going to help continue to propel you through this career?
Like as in my personal life or in my.
Anything. I think it's so connected, you know? So just like things that you do either to get you through the workday, you know, maybe taking a walk, or do you meal prep to make sure that you fuel yourself during the day? So I'm just talking about small things that let's maybe do more work things rather than, I mean, you could certainly think of personal things too, but just things that add joy or satisfaction even to your day, that allow you to say, you know what, I'm going to feel like I am going to take that risk and do the splenectomy, because you're doing small things to take care of yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. So I think one of the first things I do is, I love hyping myself up with some music. The fact that the Wicked movie came out, I've been belting defying gravity
Yeah.
on my way to work, and then also just connecting with my technicians and connecting with my like doctors too. I just love building that connection with each other, and I think also one of the things that I try to do is I try to bring positivity into the clinic. So one of my technicians the other day is like, "How are you still happy?" And I was like, I'm stressed, but we're going to keep a smile on my face because that is what keeps me going. And that's what
Yep.
also keeps you guys going too.
And then when they're still going, they're going to help you get through your day. And it just sounds like a really lovely cycle. This was amazing. Those are such good tips. And I'm so glad to hear you say all of those things. And I'm just so excited to continue to watch your journey. It's been so much fun. And I'm so glad that I actually got to talk to you. And I'm so grateful that you took time out of your evening to talk to me and tell me about your story. And I'm hoping that we can stay connected. And I'm looking forward to seeing how your journey continues to unfold. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome.